Good morning, guys. In the last session, we discussed about bean scopes. Bean scope will decide how many objects should be created for a Spring Bean. The default scope of a Spring Bean is a singleton. That means only one object will be created for that bean by IOC container. If you want multiple objects to be created for a bean, then we can go for prototype bean. For prototype, every time new object will be created. Right. So in order to specify the bean scope, you can give scope is equal to prototype, bean ID is equal to motor, class is equal to motor, and you can specify scope as a prototype. If you don't specify any scope, then the default scope will be singleton only. If you don't specify any scope, then the default scope will be singleton. Very good. Now, today we are going to talk about another concept called auto wiring. Today we are going to talk about another concept called auto wiring. Now we are using IOC container to perform dependency injection in our application. So application nothing but several classes will be available. In application several classes will be available. In application several classes will be available. One class wants to talk to another class. One class wants to talk to another class. We are using IOC container. We are using IOC container to perform that dependency injection. Okay, how we are telling the IOC to perform the dependency injection? If we see in our bean configuration file, of our previous project, when we develop our payment application, in our bean configuration file, we are giving ref is equal to UPI, something like this. We are telling the IOC to perform we are using IOC container to perform dependency injection. We are giving instruction to IOC. We are giving instruction to IOC to inject dependent object into target object using ref attribute. Am I right? Now if you see, bill collector is one class. Inside the bill collector, I'm injecting UPI object by using ref attribute. So either by using property tag or by using constructor-arg tag. Using property tag or using constructor-arg tag, we are injecting one class object into another class object. That is by using ref attribute. When we use ref attribute, that is called as manual wiring. Using ref attribute, we are telling to IOC which object it has to inject. Are you guys getting my point? In our application, several classes will be available. So when we have multiple classes, one class wants to talk to another class. When we have multiple classes, one class wants to talk to another class. So now if we want establish the communication between one class to another class, then we need to specify ref attribute by using dependency injection. So IOC container is injecting that dependent object into target object. So I'm telling to IOC, so in the bill collector, you have to inject UPI object by using constructor. That is called a constructor injection. Using ref attribute, we are telling IOC to inject that object manually. Using ref attribute, we are telling to IOC which object it has to inject. This process is called as manual wiring. This process is called as manual wiring. Manually, we are telling to IOC which object it has to inject. Spring IOC supports auto wiring concept also. Spring IOC supports auto wiring concept also. That means Spring IOC having capability to identify the dependent and inject dependent into target. Inject dependent into target. You no need to specify the ref attribute. You no need to specify the ref attribute. IOC container itself can identify the dependent object and it can inject the dependent object into our target, into target classes, that is called as auto wiring. So here we can perform the dependency injection in the Spring in two ways. One is manual wiring and the second one is auto wiring. Manual wiring means as a programmer, we need to tell which object should be injected into target using ref attribute. We are setting that. That means programmer is telling clearly this object you have to inject into that object. Instead of we are telling that by using ref attribute, we can go for auto wiring concept also. We can go for auto wiring concept. Spring IOC supports auto wiring concept also. Auto wiring concept. That means IOC having capability to identify the dependent object and inject dependent into target. By default, auto wiring is disabled. We need to enable the auto wiring. The default nature of the auto wiring is disabled. We need to enable the auto wiring concept. We need to enable that auto wiring concept. There are several modes available for auto wiring. Auto wiring having modes. Auto wiring having modes. What are the modes available for auto wiring? By name is one mode, by type is one mode, and constructor is one mode, and no means auto wiring will not happen. By name, by type, constructor, and no. Now let's develop one application to understand how auto wiring is going to happen. File, new, Maven project. File, new Maven project. Simple Maven project I want to create. Group ID in.AhokIT, artifact ID 06, auto wide application. Auto wide application. Click on finish. So once this project got created, we need to change the Java build path, right? By default 1.5 is coming. Go to the build path, configure build path, click on edit. JDK I am using, apply and close. Then we need to add that dependency. For our project, we need to add Spring context dependency because we want to use Spring framework in our application. Go to pom.xml, add the dependency in our application. Add the dependency in our application. Dependency, group ID, artifact ID, and version. We are adding dependency. All right, fine. Once it is done, let us create some classes to understand how auto wiring is going to work. First, I'm taking one class with a name called diesel engine. I'm taking a class with a name called diesel engine. So in.AhokIT.beans, diesel engine class I'm taking. Okay, now here I'm writing one zero param constructor just to understand when the object got created for this class. System.out.println diesel engine constructor, just a class I have taken. Now in this class I have taken one more method, public int start method. Public int start method. Here some logic. System.out.println diesel engine starting. Diesel engine starting, and it is returning some positive number so that we can understand the engine got started. Just one normal Java class I have created. In that I have a zero param constructor and I'm having a start method. In that I'm writing some logic and I'm writing one SOP statement. I'm returning one positive number. Positive number returned means that I can understand this engine started successfully. Similarly, let me create one more class This time I'm taking the class name as a car, and here I'm writing one zero param constructor, system.out.println. I'm mentioning that as car constructor. I'm mentioning that as a car constructor. Good. Now there are two classes available. One is a diesel engine, another one is a car. Diesel engine is available and a car is available. I want to represent these two classes as a spring beans. I want to represent these two classes as a spring bean. Okay, right click, new, bean configuration file. So I'm going to take this as springbeans.xml. Springbeans.xml. Now, do you know how to configure the Java class as a spring bean? So first we are going to take bean id is equal to diesel engine, and class is equal to diesel engine. So I'm going to configure my Java class as a spring bean. Diesel engine class I represented as a spring bean. Similarly, we can represent car class also as a spring bean. Bean id is equal to car and class is equal to car. Bean id is equal to car, class is equal to car. I just configured two classes as spring beans. I just configured two classes as spring beans. Bean id, that is one spring bean. Diesel engine is diesel engine class represented as one spring bean. Car class is also represented as one spring bean. Car class also represented as one spring bean. Now let us create one test class to test our application. Now I'm going to create one more package as a test class, or I can say it is a driver main package. I'm going to create. I'm taking this class name as a driver, which is going to run our application. Main method. I'm going to create a main method. Here I want to start the IOC container. Can you tell me how can we start the IOC container? Guys, can you tell me how to start the IOC container? We are starting the IOC container by using application context. Context is equal to new class path XML application context. New class path XML application context. The file name I'm giving as a spring-beans.xml. All right. Now, so what is the scope of these beans, guys? Am I configuring any bean scope? Am I configuring any bean scope? No. Then what is the default scope of these beans now? The default scope is singleton. I'm not configuring any scope. So by default, the scope will be considered as singleton. That is a default scope. That is a default scope. Okay. Now, if the bean scope is singleton, objects will be created when IOC container started, or I need to call the getBean method to create the object. When the object will be created now for these two classes? Do I need to call the getBean method to start create the object, or objects will be created by default now? Come on. Do I need to create the object, or object will be created by default? Objects will be created by default. We no need to create it. Right click, run as Java application. Right, diesel engine object got created, then car object also created. Why the objects created by default? The bean scopes are singleton. If the bean scope is a singleton, then object will be created by default. The bean scope is singleton. If the bean scope is singleton, object will be created by default. We no need to call the getBean also. We no need to call the getBean also. Object is creating by default. Object is creating by default. Right. Now I want to perform the dependency injection. Let me take diesel engine as a parameter here. Let me take diesel engine as a parameter here. Diesel engine. For the diesel engine, I'm going to write a setter method to inject that. I'm writing one setter method to inject public void set diesel engine. I'm going to take that as a parameter. Diesel engine, this dot diesel engine is equal to diesel engine. This dot diesel engine is equal to diesel engine. Now, inside the car, I'm writing one method, public void drive. Public void drive method I'm calling. Drive method I'm writing. Inside the drive method, I'm calling diesel engine dot start. It is going to return some value. If start is greater than or equal to 1, if it is a positive number, then I'm going to take it as system.out.println journey started. Journey started. Else, I'm going to maintain that system.out.println engine failed to start. Engine failed to start. So now tell me, my classes are having a dependency. My classes don't have a dependency. Car is dependent on the diesel engine. Car is not dependent on the diesel engine. Car is dependent on the diesel engine. Car is not dependent on the diesel engine. Come on. Car is dependent on the diesel engine. Car is not dependent on the diesel engine. Car is dependent on the diesel engine. So we need to inject a diesel engine object into car object. Now tell me, which is our target class and which is our dependent class? In this scenario, which is our target class and which is our dependent class? What is the target and what is the dependent? Car is dependent on the engine. Is engine dependent on anybody? Is engine dependent on anybody? No, engine is not dependent on anybody. Engine is not dependent on anybody. Car is dependent on engine. Car is dependent on the engine. Now here I'm going to get the bin object. I'm going to get the bin object. Context dot get bin object is already created by IOC, but I want to get that object. So here car class is having a ID car, and we are going to set it as car dot class, which is going to give us the car object. Now car dot drive. Can you tell me what is the output we are going to get? Can you tell me what is the output we are going to get? Can you tell me what is the output we are going to get? Journey started. Now see here, I'm starting a IOC container by giving the bin configuration file as a XML. IOC container will read this bin configuration file. Both bins are singleton scope. So diesel engine object will be created and car class object also will be created. Just objects are creating. Am I telling to inject engine object into car? Am I telling to perform the dependency injection? Am I telling to perform the dependency injection? I'm not telling to perform the dependency injection. I am not telling to perform the dependency injection. I just configure the classes as beans. I just configure the classes as beans. Okay, then I am going to driver class. I'm starting IOC. Just objects will be created. Car class object will be created. Engine class object will be created. I'm calling car. I'm getting the car object. I'm calling car dot drive method. It will go to car class drive method. Diesel engine. Diesel engine is a variable belongs to a class. So what is the value holding by this variable? What is the value holding by this variable, guys? Is there any initialization? Are we initializing this variable? No, we are not initializing this variable. If we don't initialize this variable, then what will be the value available? Whenever the object is created, by default, null value will be initialized for the instance variable. Now, null dot start method, then what will happen? Null pointer exception we are going to get. let's run this driver class, run as Java application. Yes, diesel engine object created, car object also created, but still we are getting the null pointer exception. Why? Just objects are creating, dependency injection is not happening. Just objects are creating, but dependency injection not happening. Now tell me why dependency injection is not happening here. Can you tell me why dependency injection is not happening here? Can anyone tell me why dependency injection is not happening here? Because we have not specified. Because we have not specified. So here there is a setter method. We need to specify inject diesel engine object into car object by using property. By using property. So do you know how to specify that? Do you know how to specify that? Property name is equal to diesel engine, ref is equal to diesel engine. Can we specify that? Inject diesel engine object. I can give diesel engine object property name is equal to diesel engine, ref is equal to diesel engine. Now go and execute the driver class, run as Java application. Now can you see object is injected and diesel engine starting and the journey started. So this auto wiring will not, this dependency injection will not happen automatically. As a programmer, you need to provide the instruction to the IOC to inject your dependent object into target object. So dependency injection will not happen automatically. Dependency injection will not happen automatically. We need to do that. Now, here we are doing manual wiring or we are doing auto wiring. In this example, we are doing manual wiring or we are doing auto wiring, guys. Can you tell me? Manual wiring. How can you say that we are doing manual wiring? How can you say that we are doing a manual wiring? We are using ref attribute. Now, but actually in the Spring, we have a concept called auto wiring. You no need to do this. You no need to do this. You just specify auto wire is equal to by name. Auto wire is equal to by name. Am I telling which object to inject or I'm just enabling the auto wiring concept here? I am not telling which object to inject. I configured diesel engine as one bean and I configured car as one bean. Car class is dependent on the diesel engine. So I am not injecting the engine object into car object by using ref attribute. If you inject a engine object into car object by using ref attribute, that is called as manual wiring. Here I am not doing that manual wiring. I am enabling auto wire. Auto wire is equal to by name. Let's execute this program. See the output. Run as Java application. Oh, is it able to execute? Are we getting the output, guys? Are we getting the output? The dependency injection is happening. The dependency injection is happening. Yes or no? Are we specifying what is target, what is dependent? Our Spring IOC is identifying that. Are we specifying that? Our Spring IOC is identifying that. We are not specifying that Spring IOC. We are not specifying that Spring IOC is taking care of that. We are not specifying that Spring IOC is taking care of that. Spring IOC is taking care of that. But how it is identifying, that is the matter. Auto wire is equal to by name. Guys, understand carefully. It is a small concept which is little confusing. Let's understand, and now I will try to clarify you how this auto wiring by name is working internally. Okay, first let us take car class. Car is one class which is having a dependency. Car is one class which is having a dependency. Called diesel engine. Now here we have a setter method. Here we have a setter method for car. Then after drive method is available, forget about it. Some method, one method is available. This is car class. Okay. And here we have engine class also. Diesel engine, a normal class available, which is having some method. A normal class available, which is having some method, some methods, some logic available. We have one class, diesel engine. So total two classes are available. When you look at this, can you identify which is the target, which is dependent, which class is dependent on which class? Engine dependent on car, car dependent on engine, engine dependent on car, car dependent on engine. Can you guys tell me that? Engine is not dependent on car, car dependent on engine, car dependent on engine, car class dependent on engine, car class dependent on engine. Now we are specifying engine as one spring bean. We are specifying engine as one spring bean. Okay. Then we are specifying car as one spring bean. We are specifying car as one spring bean. In the car spring bean, I'm specifying auto wiring. I'm specifying auto wiring. Car is represented as one spring bean. Engine is represented as one spring bean. Car is represented as one spring bean. Engine is represented as one spring bean. Now on that engine, we don't have any properties. So normal bean ID diesel engine, class is equal to diesel engine. But in the car, ID is the car, class is car, fully qualified class name, auto wire is equal to by name. Here, what will happen is when you specify auto wire is equal to by name, when you specify auto wire is equal to by name, extra responsibility we are giving to IOC container to identify the dependent object. Earlier, as a programmer, we specified dependent object by using ref attribute, manual wiring. We are directly telling to IOC which object it has to inject. But today, I am not telling to IOC what is my dependent for the car. I am just telling car object should have auto wiring facility. Auto wire is equal to by name. What is the auto wiring? It is a capability of the IOC to identify the dependent and inject it. I'm telling to IOC, hey IOC, you are intelligent. You perform the dependency injection. You only identify what is the dependent object for my class. You go and check my class. In my class, there is some user defined variable is available. For that variable, you identify the dependent object and you inject it. I am giving the task to IOC to identify the dependent. I'm giving the task for IOC to identify the dependent object. So that is called auto wiring. What is the mode available for auto wiring here? Auto wire is equal to by name. So what is the meaning of auto wire is equal to by name? It will go to this class. It will go to this class. It will go to this class. In this class, what are the variables are available which are user defined, not primitive types, guys. Auto wiring will not work for primitive data type. Auto wiring will work for only referenced data type, user defined data types. How many variables are available with the user defined data types? There is only one variable available with the user defined data type. So can I say only one variable available with the user defined data type? Yes, there is only one variable available with the user defined data type. That is called diesel engine. Now, what is the mode I have given? By name. Then it is going to check what is the user defined variable available and what is the name of that variable. The variable name is diesel engine. Variable name is diesel engine. As I specified by name, the variable name is diesel engine. Then it will come to the bean configuration file. It is going to check, is there any bean available with that name? Is there any bean available with that name? Do we have a bean with that name? Diesel engine is the variable name. If that variable name is matching with the bean name, then it is going to identify that class as a dependent class and it is going to inject. I have enabled auto wiring on the car class with a mode as a by name. By name means, so in your class, for which class you enabled auto wiring, IOC will go to that class and IOC will check how many referenced type variables are available and what are the names of those variables. With that variable name, if there is any bean available in the bean configuration file, then IOC container is going to inject this bean object into this variable. Are you guys clear with my point? Now, let us see here. What is the variable name I have given in the car class? Diesel engine. What is the bean ID I have given? Diesel engine. So this variable name of the dependent is matching with this bean ID. So this bean class object will be injected to car. That is the meaning of by name. Auto is equal to by name. Now run this, run as Java application. Yes, diesel engine constructor executed, car constructor executed. That means for both classes, objects got created. Diesel engine started and journey started. Okay, sir, what is the proof? It is going to use the name. Now, can I change this variable name to some ABC? Bean ID is equal to ABC. Now, what is the auto wiring mode I have given? By name. What is the auto wiring mode I have given? By name. What is the bean ID? ABC. In the target class, what is the variable name? Diesel engine. Now tell me, with this variable, is there any bean available? With this variable, is there any bean available? With this variable, is there any bean available? Not available. Then dependency injection will perform or dependency injection will not perform. Dependency injection will perform or dependency injection will not perform. Now try this. Go to driver, right click, run as Java application. Now null pointer exception we are getting. Why we are getting null pointer exception? Why we are getting null pointer exception? Can you tell me? IOC able to identify the dependent object with the by name. IOC is not able to identify the dependent object with by name. IOC container able to perform the dependency injection with by name, or IOC container not able to perform the dependency injection with by name. IOC container not able to perform the dependency injection with by name because variable name is not matching with any bean name. My car class is having some dependents with the diesel engine. The variable name is the diesel engine. With this variable name, is there any bean matching? There is no bean matching. As the bean is not matching with that variable name, IOC not able to identify the dependent, IOC not performing the dependency injection. IOC not performing the dependency injection. Okay, now I'm going to specify diesel engine, diesel engine, diesel ENG. What is the variable name? Diesel ENG. Now this time, is it matching? Diesel ENG is the variable name. Here bean ID is a diesel engine. Diesel engine. Now, if I run this application, dependency is happening. Dependency is happening. Whenever you configure bean definition, bean ID can be anything. You can give ABC also. Still object will be created because this bean is a singleton scope. ID can be anything. A unique identifier you are going to give for your bean definition. That's it. Bean ID can be anything. Object will be created. Okay. Now, sir, I have diesel engine. Can I create one more bean? Can I configure the diesel engine with the same ID once again? So can I have same ID for two different beans? Can I have same ID for two different beans? Is it possible? First of all, it is not possible. Every bean definition should have a unique ID. Every bean definition should have a unique ID. So will there be any conflict if you go with by name? There will not be any conflict because every bean definition should have a unique ID. Every bean definition should have a unique ID. Now suppose for example, If I configure diesel engine 2 times with the same ID, then what is going to happen? Right click, run as Java application. Is it allowing us to run our application? It is failing. It will not allow us to run our application. So always you need to give the unique ID for your bean. Now you understand how by name is working. Now you understand how by name is working, guys. How by name is working. So if your variable name is matching with any bean ID, then IOC container will perform dependency injection by name. In the by name mechanism, by name, if variable name matching with when we specify auto wiring mode, by name means if variable name matched with any bean name, then if variable name matched with any bean ID, or name, then IOC will consider that as dependent bean and it will inject that. By name means if target class variable name matched with if target class variable name matched with any bean ID or bean name in bean definitions, in bean configuration file, then IOC will consider that as dependent bean and it will inject that into target. It will inject that dependent bean object into target. Inject dependent bean object into target object. You got my point. By name means if target class variable name matched with any bean ID or name in the bean configuration file, then IOC will consider that as a dependent bean and it will inject that dependent bean object into target object. Are you clear? Suppose for example, I don't want to check with the variable names. Because whatever the variable name we configured here, with the same variable name we need to configure the bean ID. With the same variable name we need to configure the bean ID, then only the auto wiring is going to happen. Are you clear with my point? Come on, guys. Are you clear with my point? So here diesel engine is available as a bean. For that bean ID I have given. If I change the bean ID, if somebody modify the bean ID, then dependency injection will happen or dependency injection will not happen. If somebody modify the bean ID, dependency injection will happen or dependency injection will not happen. If somebody modify the bean ID, dependency injection will not happen. I don't want to consider that bean name. I want to perform the dependency injection. Then we can go for by type mechanism. What is the mode available, guys? By type. When you go for by type, it is going to consider data type of the variable. By name means it is going to check the variable name. By type means it is going to check the what is the data type of the bean. Now see here, I am giving auto wire is equal to by type. Driver, right click, run as Java application. Dependency injection happening. Dependency injection is happening or not? Dependency injection happening. Now variable name is matching or variable name is not matching. What is the variable name? Diesel engine. What is the bean name? ABC. Can I give any name for the bean ID? Yes, I can give any name for the bean ID. So here, how it is identifying the dependent object? Based on the type. So when I specify auto wire is equal to by type, it will go to target class. What are the referenced variables available? There is a referenced variable called diesel engine. What is the data type? Diesel engine. With this data type, is there any bean available? Now it is going to check the class. When you give the by name, it will check the variable name is not matching with the variable name or not. When you give the by type, it is going to check the class name is matching with this data type or not. That is by type. So as I have given, auto wire is equal to by type, variable name not only ABC, you can give it as XYZ also. You can give it as XYZ. How IOC is understanding that diesel engine is the dependent. Here diesel engine is the variable. It is not going to check the variable because mode is by type. Mode is by type. When the mode is by type, so it is going to check this variable data type as a diesel engine. This diesel engine is, do we have any bean with this class? Do we have any bean with this class? Yes, we have one class that is called diesel engine class available. Data type is matching. As the data type is matching, it is injecting the diesel engine object into car class. That's why we are able to run our project. With by name, it is going to check the variable name. With by type, it is going to check the data type. But here there is a problem. If I configure diesel engine with another bean name, I'm giving as a ABC. I'm giving as a ABC. Now, what is the auto wiring mode? By type. By type means it is going to check the data type. With this data type, how many beans are available? How many bean definitions are available? 2 bean definitions are available. Which bean definition it has to inject now? Which bean definition it has to inject now? Come on. How many beans are matching now? How many beans are matching now? One bean is matching or 2 beans are matching? 2 beans are matching. Let's check it. Right click, run as Java application. Car constructor. What happened? What happened? It is saying that no unique bean definition exception, no qualifying bean of type diesel engine. Expected single matching bean but found 2. So here it is expecting a single bean to perform the dependency injection, but it found 2 beans to perform the dependency injection. That is ambiguity. That is ambiguity. So now you got it. Why the ambiguity is coming now? You got the concept why ambiguity problem is coming now. Why the ambiguity problem is coming? What is the auto wiring mode I have given? By type. How it is going to check by type? By type means what it is going to check? By type means if target class by type means it will check data type of the variable. Data type of the variable. Data type of the variable. With a data type of variable, it will check, do we have any bean matching with that? With the data type of variable, it will check, do we have any bean configured in bean configuration file, and it will identify that as dependent. If available with the data type, of the variable, if any bean class is configured, then it will identify that as dependent and it will inject into target. Note, we can configure one class as multiple. We can configure one class for multiple times with different IDs. Then we will get ambiguity problem in by type scenario. Okay, we can configure one class for multiple times with different IDs, then we will get ambiguity problem in by type scenario. Right, how to resolve that ambiguity problem? To resolve that ambiguity problem, Auto-wire candidate is equal to I can specify as ABC. Auto-wire candidate is equal to ABC, something like that. We will talk about this auto-wire candidate in the next session. What is the auto-wire candidate? Which one should be considered for the dependency injection? That we will discuss in the tomorrow session. So like this, we can work with auto wiring by name and by type. So when you go for by name, it will check the name of the variable. When you give the by name, with this variable name, it is going to check this bean. With this variable name, it is going to check this. Now I have given auto wire is equal to by name. It is going to check this variable. This variable, with this variable, there is a bean available here, so it is going to identify. If I give the by type, then with the data type of the variable, it is going to identify the dependent object. If you have more than one dependent object, then it is going to give ambiguity problem. How to resolve that ambiguity problem, I will explain in the tomorrow session. Okay, right. Now, so tomorrow we will complete our discussion related to this XML approach. So tomorrow is the last example with the XML approach. Then we will start with Spring Boot. Tomorrow we'll complete the XML approach and we'll start with the Spring Boot. Okay, fine guys. Thank you. So please practice this example before coming to next session. Please practice this example before coming to next session. I'm going to upload this to dashboard. Upload the notes. 19 SBMS. Bean scopes and auto wiring. Yeah, notes got uploaded guys, so you can download these notes before coming to tomorrow. So tomorrow we are going to understand how to resolve that ambiguity problem, and once we completed this annotation approach, then we are going to start with the Spring Boot, because this XML approach is outdated. Just to give you the basic idea how to work with XML, we are discussing this. So we are going to start with Spring Boot in another 1 or 2 days. Spring Boot is going to start in another 1 or 2 days. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.